Hello, hello, everybody. It is Friday, August the something or other, 20th? That sounds right. I think I just wrote 21st. 21st. Jamie here, your favorite financial literacy coach and profit strategist and CPA, to come give you the update. So when you get here, say hi so you can tell me that you can hear me. I think my mic is on. It is. Tell me you can see me. I want to make sure I can see your comments so that I can take your questions, because that's really the point of today. So as always, I'll give you kind of a little update up front, and then I can start taking whatever questions you guys have about all things stimulus. So typically I'm teaching business owners how to make and pay themselves more profit. And we've really switched largely over the last several months to just helping you guys through this time to give you all the information that you need in order to really make it through the craziness that is COVID-19. So hi, everybody. Hi, guys. Okay, good. I see Gretchen. I see Judy. I see Annalie. I see Kelly. Hey, Kelly. I see Jeannie. I see Rose. I see Vicky. Awesome. Great. I see a bunch of you guys joining. So it's good to see you guys. Give me a heart or a like when you're watching this, just to give me a little hug, high five. That's kind of what it's like to a person who makes content all the time. So if you're not watching me, this is live over in Financial Literacy for Women Business Owners. That is my Facebook group. We are 28,000-ish strong over there. If you're not in it, I need you to come on over and hang out with us, because it's a lot of fun over there. And if you are watching me on YouTube, hi to you as well. Okay, so I got a bunch of you guys on, so I'm going to get started. Hopefully we will not have the problem. For those of you who were at the live last week, or at least saw the first attempt at a live that I did last week, my son continued to walk in, my six-year-old, who is virtual learning first grade, which seemed like a good idea at the time. Not a good idea. He continued to walk in. Today, literally right before I got on this live, and the reason I was a few minutes late is that my 3-year-old, who is supposed to be taking a nap right now, just wandered on in with no pants on, because why would you need to wear pants at all? So I had to take care of that. So hopefully we're good, maybe, but you never know what's going to happen on a Friday live. Okay, guys. Hi, Diana. Hi, Stacy. Hi, Cindy. Okay, great. Awesome. We got a ton of you. Okay, so let's start, and then you guys can think about what questions you have about any of the things that are going on. But I want to start with kind of the update of what's going on with everything, right? Like what's happening in Congress? Where are all of the things? Because there have been a ton of things talked about that are part of different bills. And there are so many different bills that have been talked about, and that can get really confusing as well. So really, like, let's level set. So still continue. This is like the third week I think I've said this. We're at a stalemate. Congress is at a stalemate. It started out that the Republicans had a $1 trillion bill. The Democrats had a $3 trillion bill. They couldn't meet in the middle. And then they kind of walked away from the table and said, we're not going to do it. Trump passed his 4 executive orders, which impact things like payroll taxes and unemployment. And we'll talk about that here in a minute, because I know a lot of people have questions about that unemployment and what's happening with that. What Trump passed in that executive order was an additional an option. States can opt in or they can opt out of additional money for unemployment. They would get $300 federally. It would actually be, it's being funded by FEMA. So FEMA is who usually is handling all the emergencies, right? Hurricanes, flooding, that kind of thing. It's usually FEMA. So that money, they apply to FEMA, they get that money, and then they can pass that additional $300 on to their people. It also called for $100 to be added on top by the states if they wanted to. And so that's been an interesting thing to see which states are opting in and opting out to that too. So what's happening right now is states are applying, and they are applying to get this additional money federally, or some of them are not applying. Most states that are applying are not providing the additional 100 as well. So if you're curious about where your state stands, it seems like they're keeping this pretty well updated. I can't necessarily subscribe to the full accuracy of it, but it seems like they're doing a good job of keeping this updated over at this site, which is unemploymentpua.com. and I have it linked. So wherever you're watching me Facebook, it's going to be up there. If you're watching me on YouTube, it's going to be down there. I have this site linked so that you can bookmark it and keep checking back because I think they are updating it. But it's got it by state. So hopefully you guys can see this. It's probably a little small. I wish I could, if I zoom in, oops, it's going to, hopefully that, I don't know if that helped at all or not. So ultimately, this is going to be your benefits by state. So it'll say, you know, have they applied to FEMA? Have they not? Maybe they've applied, but they haven't paid. So it'll kind of give you some detail up here as to what each status means. Only a few have started paying it out to people. So Arizona started paying theirs out already. So if you saw that, some of you guys saw that. I think there are a few more that have been approved too. Yeah, so you can see kind of who's applied all through here and who has payment. There's a lot of states with payment pending. So go check this out for your state. Again, as far as a state contribution, most are not giving the extra 100. One of them, Kentucky is giving the extra 100, and I think West Virginia, and Montana and West Virginia. Those are the three so far that have said yes. The other ones haven't yet. The only state that has flat out declined or said that they're going to decline on here anyway is South Dakota. So the other ones will just have to kind of see where that comes out. So depending on where you are, it's going to really depend. But it actually is, in some states, it's already started. So we'll have to see how this happens. Now, whether you get back pay, I'm not sure on that fact. So we'll have to wait and see if people are getting back pay back to that August 1st date, which is when this was supposed to kick in. I would guess so, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, importantly, this money, while in the executive order, it's supposed to go through December, I think. It's then or when the money runs out. So they only have certain surplus in FEMA. That's why it's FEMA, because they had surplus money over there. So until that fund runs out, once that fund runs out, then it runs out for everybody. So we don't know how many weeks this is going to last. We're not really sure. It's not going to run out right away. There's some time, there's a runway there, but really this is more of a buying time until, you know, Congress can sort of get their act together on all the things. So let's see. So hang on a second. I gotta zoom back out because I accidentally zoomed in on my wrong screen. Okay. So somebody asked, when does it go into effect and will people be paid back? Yeah. So hopefully so. And again, when it goes into effect is going to change based on the state that you're in. But yes, likely it will. Likely it should be paid back. But we'll have to kind of wait and see once those, because really there's only one state that started paying them, and they started paying them pretty quickly. So I'm not entirely certain. Which category on landing page to get to the list of states? I don't know. I've linked the full, it's under articles, I think it looks like. I've linked to the actual full website above, or you're on Facebook, so it's above. If you're on YouTube, it's below. So I went ahead and linked that because I knew that was going to be something that you guys would want to see. And yes. Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see how it goes, but at least one state is actually receiving, people have confirmed that they've started receiving the money. So that's a good sign. So for anybody who's on unemployment, that matters. Okay. So I just wanted to show you guys that. With everything else going on, right? So with the stimulus itself, there's been a stalemate in Congress. Where it's at right now is actually the Republicans. So previously, the $1 trillion bill, the HEALS Act, that the Republicans were putting up, was kind of the starting point of their negotiation against the HEROES Act, which was the Democrats' act. There were a lot of Republicans that were not okay with even that $1 trillion, several. And so what has happened now is they've come away from the table, and the Republicans have come down. So they're actually about to release, maybe today, the details of a skinny bill. And this skinny bill is actually expected to be more like $500 billion, so about half of their previous bill. So they're actually pulling back. because a lot of their base, a lot of the people on the Republican Party side didn't want to pass something that big. So you can see like how this is coming far apart now. There's so much frustration. I try to stay out of any kind of political opinions because nobody wants my opinions over here. But I'll tell you the facts of what's happening. I think that the reason, so a lot of people are very frustrated with the fact that there has not been a deal. Okay. Here's my conjecture as to a little bit of the why. All right. The motivation for the deal right now, I mean, and I was watching a little bit on the news. They were talking about this too. There was an analyst who was talking about this, and I totally agree. The stock market right now is super high, you guys. Now, a lot of you guys understand that the stock market and like the average person are different, right? Like that the stock market is not our economy. But when the stock market is high and there's not a significant amount of downside volatility there, it doesn't put as much pressure on lawmakers to actually get a deal done. That's just the unfortunate thing, right? That's just something that is true. But the problem there is it's like this little bit of like a game because part of the reason likely that the stock market is up is because a deal has already been priced in. So the stock market is up because it's expecting a deal. A deal hasn't happened because the stock market is up. Now that's oversimplifying it. I am not an economist. # not an economist. I am not an economist, so I cannot, opine on all of these things. But I do think that it takes some of the urgency out. So if you are a person, and this is what I just continue to say to people, is wherever you land on the spectrum of ideals in your politics, okay, it doesn't even matter. If you are in a situation where what is happening is so heavily impacting you, and there are so many people I talk to on a daily basis where this is them, where it is impacting them, and they're like, what is going on? How does Congress not realize that this is so impactful to me? You need to tell them. You need to tell them. You need to reach out to your representatives. You need to reach out to your congressmen. There are sites that actually, and I can post one on the group too, that actually you can easily find it and write a letter to them. I think there's even like a texting one now where you can like quickly, text in what you want to vote for. So I know a lot of people don't think that does anything. One person it doesn't, but lots and lots of people it does. They hear that. They see the messages that are coming across. So that's what I would say to anybody who's feeling like super frustrated that nothing is happening and they want, some traction on a specific topic or two. Call that out. Tell your story. Make sure that it gets heard, because that's the way they're going to hear it. Because like I said, I mean, right now they're very far apart, very, very far apart. And when do I think they might come with a deal? I think unless something urgent happens between now and it's going to be the end of September, not necessarily before they pass something, but here's the reason I think that. The end of September is when budgets are due for the next year. They have to be turning in budgets. That is one of those do or die. This is how Congress works. I mean, I think we've seen that now, that they're not like, hey, maybe we should get on top of this and figure this out before it's a giant crisis down to the last 11th hour for everybody else. That's how they work. That's how they have leverage, is they work to the 11th hour. And that 11th hour we thought was going to be when, unemployment had expired. And so they were trying to get that together. But now they've kind of pushed the can, I think, down the line a little bit. So I'm guessing end of September is when we might see something. We might see some things pass before then. The question is, are they going to be willing to vote on certain parts of the deal? Are they afraid that's going to get rid of their leverage for the rest of the deal? That's really, a lot of people wonder why they don't just vote on the parts that they agree on. The problem there is then the parts they don't agree on would never get anywhere, right? So they would never, nobody would ever make concessions. That's what leverage is. That's what negotiation looks like in Congress. Whatever you think of it, that's the truth of the matter. So we will see how this ends up, and I'll keep you guys updated. I'm curious to see what happens, because again, today, the skinny bill from the Republicans is supposed to come out. One thing on the skinny bill that it's not expected to have is the additional $1,200 second round of stimulus checks, which is strange because that was something that previously was agreed on pretty well across the board. So that's interesting to see. I mean, it's likely to be completely outright rejected when it gets to the Senate, but we'll have to, or when it gets to the House anyway, but we'll have to see. Yes, so contact your representatives. That's really the best advice, because I get a lot of people that are just really upset, and I understand being really upset, but you got to channel that in the right direction. Channel that towards change and not towards just like sitting in upsetness, right? So channel it towards change, go contact your congressman, and then get creative about your business as much as you can versus waiting around, because we don't know. I will tell you 100 times, I will give you all the information about government funding. Please, please, please don't put yourself or your business in the spot where government funding is going to be the only thing that can save you, right? And I know that that's tough. Different businesses have different situations, but try and get as creative as you can. Be looking for outlets to make money, to pivot your business. We cannot rely on our government to bail us all out of this, right? We have to do some work on our own as well. So that is something that I really want to stress, is that yes, hopefully there is help coming. Do I believe there is help coming? Yes. Will it be fully adequate for what you need? Probably not. Right? Probably not. Let's just be completely honest there. We're putting like a Band-Aid on an artery bleed here, right? So we got to figure out how to stop the bleeding. We got to figure out how to do that. And that process is going to be different for each person. Okay. EIDL forgiveness. We don't, no, there's not going to be any EIDL forgiveness. No, that's not something being talked about or debated. The thing that has been talked about is increasing the advances, like the grant portion, to be the $10,000 for everyone, which was likely the actual intent of what the bill was that was passed originally in the CARES Act meant to do. But then, there were so many applicants that they ended up doing this $1,000 per employee. So that is still in debate. Whether that goes anywhere, we'll have to see. That's caught up in all of this, but we just don't know. Let's see. PPP forgiveness. So that's all still caught up in this too, is the $150,000 blanket forgiveness possibility for PPP. I did a whole live on PPP forgiveness on Wednesday, so I'm not going to go into that a lot here. Nothing's really changed since then, so go check that out, or go to my YouTube channel and check it out, because yes, PPP forgiveness is being talked about as a blanket for loans under $150,000. You'd still have to probably certify that you used it properly, so it's not a free-for-all. But yes, that would help, at least with the paperwork part of things. Let's see. Yes. Taxes are owed on unemployment payments. That's separate from payroll tax. So yet you're going to have to still pay income tax as well. So income tax and payroll taxes are due on unemployment payments. Yes. I would expect that that's going to be the case go forward. If we applied for EIDL after the grant was gone, will it be available to us now? No, likely not. Unless they apportion more funds for that. So I would not expect them, because right now they've run through all those funds. But if they were to give $10,000 to everybody, they would have to apportion more funds anyway. So we'd have to wait and see what the terms of that were. But if you didn't qualify for the grant at all, then I would guess probably not. But you never know. I wouldn't wait up for it. Okay. Let's see what else we have from you guys. Dan says, do you think this new bill is likely to take away taxation on PPP proceeds as Congress wanted? Do you think there's another round of PPP coming? And if so, okay. So the first question, do I think it's likely to take away taxation on PPP proceeds as Congress wanted? So I'm actually going to be doing soon, if this is something you guys are interested in, let me know if this is something that you guys are interested in. Just a full rundown on the taxability of all the things, right? Because I think that there is so many different programs and things like that, and we get confused as to how and what is taxable. So PPP is not taxable as income. That was in the CARES Act. What, however, does happen is the expenses you paid with that money are not deductible. So that's how PPP works. It kind of makes sense, honestly. Like when you really think about it, you would get a double benefit, really, if you got tax-free income and you could also deduct the expenses, right? So maybe, but that doesn't seem to be something the IRS did, or not the IRS. Who was it that the account? I think it was like the AICPA had written in saying they thought that expenses should be deductible. Where I could see it happening, honestly, where I could see this happening is this. So, and I talked a little bit about this on Wednesday. You have 10 months from when your PPP expires to apply for forgiveness. 10 months from the end of your 24 weeks, right? That's a long time. So what the heck does that mean then? Because you spent that money in 2020, but you don't have to apply till, let's say, September of next year, October of next year. You've already filed your taxes for 2020. So what do? Because you would continue to deduct those expenses until your PPP was forgiven. So I think the timing could be one of the things that, from a practicality standpoint, how is this going to actually work, right? Because if you have not received forgiveness at the time that you're filing your 2020 taxes, you would still deduct those expenses. Do you have to go back and do an amended one after you have it forgiven? That seems silly, but possible. So I would definitely, I say it all the time, work with a qualified CPA this year, you guys, please. Even if you love doing taxes yourself, this is going to be an awful year to do taxes. But that is one of the reasons I could see them tackling this at some point. But that would probably be something that would come out from the IRS potentially, maybe with Congress behind it saying this is what you need to do. But that ruling actually came from the IRS, that things weren't deductible. That was from the IRS, not from Congress. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But I have not seen that in any bills that are currently being discussed. That literally could be something that is talked about into next year, right? So I think we just need to assume they're not going to be deductible, but from a planning standpoint, but you never know. Do you think there's another round of PPP coming? That is in some of the bills. Yes, probably, maybe. And it would, if the things that were previously in the HEALS Act, which was a Republican act, I have not seen the skinny bill because it's not out yet, but it did provide for PPP for business owners to be able to get a second PPP. You had to be able to show a 50% reduction in gross receipts, one like Q2 over Q2 last year or Q3 over Q3 last year, to be able to qualify. So there would be more qualification that you would have to do. It probably would be a little bit broader in what you could use it for, which is great. Or they might pass a different type of loan, which I've talked about a little bit, that's part of this Restart Act, which is more of it's a partially forgivable operating, expense, working capital type of loan. More similar to almost like EIDL in what you can use it for, but it could be partially forgivable. So that's a different type of loan that's being debated as well. That seems to have a decent amount of bipartisan support. So I'm not sure if they would issue more PPP, do this other loan, or do both. We will have to wait and see, but all of those things are being talked about. Okay. Oops. Let's see. Stephanie says, our bank was going to implement PPP portal for forgiveness application, and now they're making us wait to see if the blanket forgiveness passes. A lot of banks pushed it off. A lot of banks said, we're going to wait, but then we thought we'd have an answer by now, and they don't. So it's kind of unfortunate because there are some implications to the timing of when you apply for PPP. And I have an article on that on Gusto. If you guys don't have it, I should have posted that too, but I can post it after this. That talks about the timing implement or aspect, but a lot of people are going to run into this too, where their banks aren't accepting applications and they're ready to apply, which is unfortunate. And on APUA appeal hearings, I would love to hear though. Please let us know, post in the group when you've done that, because I would love to get your opinion. And I think that could really help some people who are going through this. I don't know much about this. So please do keep us updated, because that could really help other people who might be in a similar situation. Okay. If you get our health insurance through ACA, are we receiving UI? Will we have to pay back the covered premiums at tax time? I'm trying to remember now because there were some exclusions. I don't think it impacts ACA, but don't quote me on that one. Let me do a little bit of research. Looks like you're in the Facebook group. So I'll do a little bit of research on that because I want to make sure. And if anybody knows the answer, feel free to put it up because I don't think that is supposed to impact it, but I could be wrong because there were some exclusions, but I'm not sure if that's one of them. So let me get back to you. Good question. I had thought the PPP was for sole proprietors and who use the funds on payroll, it was tax-free. Yes. So I have another video on that one, PPP for sole proprietors. I think it's called Self-Employed Full Forgiveness, back from June. It talks about how for sole proprietors and LLC, if you pay yourself with the whole amount, because you don't deduct that anyway. So the whole rule around your expenses aren't deductible, right? You don't deduct your own pay to yourself as a sole proprietor LLC anyway. So that whole your expenses won't be deductible thing doesn't apply to you. It is completely fully tax-free money to you. It doesn't have any other impact. It's more for people who are my S Corps and my C Corps that actually deduct payments to themselves and payments to their employees and things like that this is going to matter. But for my sole props and LLCs who just got the money to pay themselves, my self-employed people, you don't have to worry about that. Okay. Let's see. I don't know what Super Chats is, but I'm going to go look it up, Kevin. Okay. I'm a new YouTuber. This is all new to me. Okay. What's the first step to take after receiving PPP? It depends. Nope. You know what? It doesn't depend. The very first step to take after receiving PPP is to go check out my YouTube channel. I have a playlist of PPP videos. I have some that are for employers. I have some that are for self-employed people. Go over there and check those out. I've made just a playlist. If you subscribe to my channel, you should be able to see my playlist and be able to just watch all of those. There's also a playlist for all these Q&As. If you want to go catch up to all the Q&As that we've had each Friday for a while, then you can check that out. Stacy says a taxability video would be good. Yeah, there's just so many moving parts. So I'm going to do that. I had that on my potential list, but I think that's a good one to do because a lot of people are starting to ask that question now because we're in August, almost September, and we need to think about the tax implications of all of this funding and things like that we're getting. Because my big fear, and because again, what I teach is responsible cash management, right? My fear for everybody is, and this is why I think you should engage a CPA for this year sooner rather than later. Don't wait till what you normally do, like February, March of next year, to start engaging someone, because there may be things that you can do this year to prep for the fact that you may have a higher tax liability because of some of the things that you received, right? So I have this, I hate the thought of, people just not being prepared and then getting a big tax bill on the end just because they didn't realize what the impact was going to be on some of this stuff. Okay, since UI is considered taxable, when the income goes to the PTC, might be lost, or you might have to pay some back when you reconcile. Yeah, so yeah, unemployment is taxable. I didn't know if it was one that was exempt right now. They have a couple of current COVID exemptions where they actually wrote it in that it doesn't impact it, but I don't know. So maybe you know more, Martha. So I would again, we'll look a little bit more into that detail, but that's a good question. Okay. If PPP paid 2.5 months and 8 weeks is forgiven, what about the other 2 weeks pay? No, so you can get the full 2.5 months. All you have to do, so if I'm assuming you're a sole proprietor LLC, just select the 24-week option. So you can do 8 weeks, you can do 24 weeks, select 24 weeks. Go watch my video from Wednesday too, where I talk about this. But yeah, if you select 24 weeks, you'll be able to pay yourself the full entire amount. You don't have to pay it over 24 weeks. It's only 10 weeks worth of pay, 10.8 weeks worth of pay, right? So, but you can get the full amount of the loan, assuming you got the right amount of a loan. I talk about that on Wednesday. I talked about that on Wednesday too. That for those that got overfunded, you may not be able to pay yourself the entire amount of the loan because the amount you can pay yourself is limited. And there are a lot of people that got overfunded because maybe the bank used their 1099 instead of their net. They used the gross amount before expenses instead of the net amount after expenses. And you can only pay yourself 2.5 months worth of your net. Okay, well, staff have to earn at least $100 before they qualify for new federal. So, yes. So when you say earn at least $100, the new money, the new unemployment that we're talking about with the executive order, the extra 300 in most cases, in a couple cases 400, you would have to qualify for at least $100 in state benefits. Okay, so like once your benefits have been adjusted for the amount of money that you have made, okay. So once you're put in like your income and things like that, then after that, once they've adjusted that, as long as you still qualify for $100 or more in unemployment benefits, then you will be able to get the extra. Before, you only had to qualify for $1 to get the extra 600. Now you have to qualify for $100 to get the extra 300. So, I better run because I hear my toddler, and you guys might hear my toddler yelling in the other room. I guess she's tired of trying to take a nap. So it's going to be one of those days, one of those afternoons. My mamas know what that means. I will talk to you guys soon. I will keep you updated as I know more and as things develop. So keep showing up here. Wednesdays at 10 a.m. is when I do my lives on various different topics, usually things that are frequently asked questions by you guys. And Fridays at 1:30 Central Time. I'm talking Central Time because I'm in Nashville. Y'all can hear her, can't you? I can hear her. A bit loud and clear. She's going to make sure that all of you hear her. Anyway, you guys are amazing. You're welcome, Stacy. And I will see you next time. Bye, guys.